So here comes Pat.
Well, I had to make some notes, and I have to wear these up close. I can see all of y'all. I had those fixed. But um, it was one of those to where one of the things that happens as you get older is you forget things. So much so that I even forgot that I was supposed to speak for Glenn this weekend until we had the conversation last night, and I still don't remember the conversation we had at the Clays about me speaking tonight. So I was just supposed to have a few words about Glenn, and my fiance reminded me that this was mixed company. We had children here, and above all, his mother was here, so to be nice. So I kind of narrowed it down to 3 words. Glenn and I have started off as colleagues. Glenn was a coach, I was an official, and he always tells the story about the first time that, and I won't go into the way we usually tell the story, but the first time that he ever saw me officiate, he watched as a coach. Coach came up to the table, a little irate over a stalling call. I listened to what he had to say, and back then was a warning. Coach went and sat down, match continued. I hit his kid for stalling again. Coach jumped up, came to the table raising Cain. I listened to him, and then I went 1. Coach went and sat down. Match continued. Kid got hit for stalling again. Coach got up, sat back down, got up, sat back down. Decided he was going to do it anyway. Come running to the table, screaming and yelling, and I just went, "You're out." And back then, you were out. You got to come back in the next session. Glenn's thoughts at that time was, I think if I go to the table with this guy, I'll be calm, and maybe I'll be all right. And it was the reason I say we were colleagues. Glenn then turned around and decided to get into officiating. So Glenn's perspective as a coach is one to where you're pulling for your kids. You're out there to fight for your kids. You know what your kids are supposed to be doing. How in the world can that official call you for stalling? Because as officials, we view things differently. We look at it as to what's happening and not what's supposed to be happening or what you want to be happening. So Glenn came on as an official and got a new view. So we were colleagues at that stage of the game. You have to prove yourself in this sport, whether you're a coach, a wrestler, or an official. As we got to know each other, then we became friends. And in that friendship built, we started working tournaments together. We would work the big tournament down in Flagler Palm Coast. I would go over to Capital City. We worked regions. And during that time, we spent a lot of time talking about the rules, and it was a challenge. Of course, at that stage of the game, he and Mike Nethercliff lost a lot of Pepsis because they would bet me about what the rule had to say. They would lose. But the difference is that it made them study, and they got better. And Glenn and Mike both got very good at what they do. We then became brothers. Sorry. I can be pretty hard out there, but I'm a softie too. So it's a situation to where Glenn did what I did. Is he started building the association in the Panhandle. He eventually took over for Tallahassee and worked, and he really had a tough job because a lot of his officials were military from Panama City and what have you, or college kids from Tallahassee. About the time you get them to where you think they're really going to be a good official, they're either getting transferred or they graduate and they go somewhere else to continue their careers and officiating. He's been able to really build a good association and take care of and help improve wrestling in the Panhandle. He's got good guys like Scott and some of the others that have really come along, and they've done well under his tutelage. And that's what we're supposed to do, both as coaches and as officials, is to turn around to really help the sport, to help build and make better people, better officials, to ensure that the kids get a good shake, a fair shake. And we've worked real hard at that. Glenn has done an outstanding job on the panhandle and what have you. Yes, ma'am, I'm getting off. It's a situation to where it was an honor to write a recommendation letter for Glenn. It's an honor to be here.
As I was introducing these two gentlemen, I failed to recognize them as they're also lifetime members. And Pat was inducted in the year 2007, and now we'll hear from Mike from the class of 2013.
Good morning. The wrestling community is very, very tight. Unfortunately, the officials, you guys kind of have a love-hate relationship with us. We're the redheaded stepchild, so it's very gratifying today to speak on behalf of Glenn, who I consider a great official, and it's very gratifying to see Wayne here as well, to see the redheaded stepchild's children getting inducted, so I'm very proud of you guys. On behalf of the North Central Florida wrestling officials and myself, I'd like to give you a little, I'm going to go into two realms here. I'm going to go into the wrestling realm briefly. His experience and what he does speaks for itself, so I don't have to go over a lot of wrestling background, but I want you to know the other side of Glenn Faust that many of you don't know, because I'll be honest with you, when I first met Glenn, he has this laser focus intensity, and if you're a coach that worked with him, you know what I mean. And he's really a student of the sport. Like Pat said, we spent hours and hours, long-distance phone calls, going over rules interpretation so we could get, like they mentioned, a fair shake for the kids. And we have a different perspective, coaches have a different perspective, and wrestlers have a different perspective. The good thing for Glenn is he was able to be a wrestler, he was able to coach, and he was able to officiate. So that gives him a unique perspective from all three areas as an official. I met Glenn about 25 years ago at a region tournament at Springstead, and I knew from the very beginnings he was very, as I said, very focused, very intense, very passionate, very dedicated, and he really was proud about his craft. Our friendship eventually grew into a situation where every summer Glenn's an avid fisherman, and a group of us would go fishing, and he'd take us like 50 miles offshore, and he'd always put us on these fish, always caught the limit. He's an outstanding fisherman, so we had a lot of good experiences fishing. Leaving the wrestling realm, I want to share some things with you that you may not have known about Glenn. He's a boat captain, which is a pretty good feat. He's a middle school science teacher, and he organizes the annual wet day at his middle school where he takes the entire 8th grade class out to the beach because their school's near the beach. He brings in researchers, biologists, wildlife people, and all those kids get to learn about marine life. It's a really cool thing that he does with the kids. He also is affectionately known as, I don't think any officials know this, I just found this out, Batman. Hey, Batman. He has a Batman cape in his room. He wears the Batman mask around school. This is good stuff, Glenn. And at the end of the year, they have an annual send-off. The principal's really excited about this. He gets this big giant squirt gun, and he initiates a big water battle between the faculty and the kids, and he squirts the kids while they're leaving the campus the last day on the bus. He also was recently recognized for the 6th annual education partnership that was sponsored by the Navy. So I know he has a lot of interest in marine biology, marine science, and things of that nature. I'd like to share a story about Glenn that really led me to really respect this man. About 6 or 7 years ago, we did a region tournament. I think it was at Fleming Bay, and I won't mention any names, but I had to eject a kid, a wrestler, for flagrant misconduct, which you never like to do, especially in a consolation semifinal that would have ultimately led this kid to qualify for the state tournament. So I had to eject him. So the coaches and some people were coming up to Glenn. Glenn was the head official and said, "We want to sue this guy. We want this guy gone, and we want you to reverse the call." And Glenn stood up to the coach and said, "Listen, when we had our pre-match conference, did you not raise your hand and say that you and your kids would demonstrate proper sportsmanship at all times?" And the coach said yes. And what really impressed me about that was, even though it wasn't, the popular thing to do, Glenn stood his guns and supported me. And he's always supported the other officials when we've worked in tournaments. So I appreciate that your steadfastness in the rules and just backing your fellow officials. And then in closing, some attributes of Glenn. I think he's the hardest working official in wrestling. He's laser focused. He's zoomed in. He's in the zone when he refs. He does a very good job. He has very high standards. He sticks to his guns, very conscientious, and he wants to get better each and every year. And I believe you've done, 15 state tournaments? Yeah, a lot of state tournaments. So he's very well recognized in the official world. And then, he's cursed often. Well, we all get that. Probably the most important thing I like about Glenn, and I'm proud of Glenn, is he does not ever politicize the rules. He does not pick and choose the rules. Even though the coaches politic to have us, well, this rule's not fair to be called, Glenn will always, in the spirit and in the true meaning of the rule, in the letter of the rule, will follow the rules. And he doesn't politicize it, and he has the courage to call it the way he sees it. And that's very good, in the wrestling realm. Proud to be your friend too, brother. Thank you. Glenn, stand up so they can see you. Officials don't get clapped for very often. Stand up. Just give a big hand.